So the next mantra to study in Durga Sukta is the fifth mantra. Pratanajitagam sahamanam ukram agnigam uvema paramat sadasthat sanah parshadati durgani vishva kshamad devo atiduritat yagni. So we are asking for Lord Agni to come from the highest abode. See, the various realms are there. In, for example, there is the earthly plane, which is called as Bhuhu. Then you have got the atmospheric plane, Bhuvaha. Then you have the heavenly plane, Suvaha. Above that there is Mahaha. That is where all the mains, those departed, our forefathers, will be held until such time they can take rebirth. The time for them to rebirth come, that is Mahaha. Then there will be the next higher level called Janaha, that is the various sages who can either come back or who can go further up will be located Janaha. Then Tapaha. Then Tapaha is the place where the sages who go there will not come back. And then there is the Satyam, the highest abode, where the creator, the Prajapati, Chaturmukha Brahma will be there. So these devatas, who are these deities who are in the highest realm, one of them is Agni. So who will all be there? Agnir, Vayuradityas, Chandrama, Nakshatrani, Apa, Oshadhayo, Vanaspatir. All those will be in that realm, in the cosmic form. So we are now calling upon Agni to come here, from where? Paramat Sadhasthat. Paramat, from the highest, Sadhasthat, from the highest place, from the highest location where you are. Hey Agni, unless you invoke, they won't come. Hey Agni, please come. Prutanajitam, why am I calling you? It is because there are Sahamanam Ugram, there are terrible enemies who are charging me and attacking me from all sides. And you are Pratanajitam, that means you are the vanquisher of all the enemies who might come in one bunch. See, some difficulties do not come one by one. Isn't it? It's our life experience. If one by one the difficulties come, we will be able to deal with it. But what happens? Suddenly everything will come. We will have a problem, financial problem, problem with the job, problem at home, problem in society. Every problems come from all sides. But by the same token, pleasures will not come like that. Pleasures and happiness will come sporadically, one by one. And for that you have got to work very hard, whereas you don't have to do anything to get difficulties to come to us. And then so they all come and attack us. Then this Sahamanam Ugram can be applied both to Agni, who is defending us, and also to enemies. Because you are capable of taking on multiple people from all sides. So therefore, either from all sides difficulties come to me, or you are capable of dealing with the enemies coming from all sides. So you can interpret both ways. Samanam Ugram, then Pritanajitam, because you are the one who can destroy all these enemies. You Huvema, now we are going to invoke you. Ahva. That is why when you say Swaha, when you are offering, means you are invoking, you say, come, please come here. So please come here, O Agni, from your highest abode, and then please destroy the enemies who are coming from all the sides. And then you come and actually, who is Devaha, that Agni, who is Devaha. Devaha means you are the Devata. We have talked about God a number of ways. One who shines, Jivat, and one who blesses. So you, the God, the deity, Hey Deva, Vishwani Duritani, Vishwani, all, all of them, entire duritani, hardships that come to us, and you are kshamat. The word kshamat means you are capable of neutralizing all those. This kshama or kshamatvam in the sense of competence. So when you use the word kshama, one for forgiving, another also for competence. Kartum kshamaha. A person is capable of doing something. So you are able to do that. You are efficient, you are capable, you are strong. You are able to do that. You are able to reduce all of our difficulties. And then Ati Parshat, you please protect us. You remember I have parsed the same sentence with one small difference. And that one small difference is, earlier we said Naveva Sindhum, first mantra. First mantra, in the first mantra, second line. The only difference is Naveva Sindham. And in this mantra, that Naveva Sindham is replaced by Kshamat Deva. So we have to see why we have to repeat the two ideas again. There they said Naveva Sindham, earlier mantra, please make us cross these vast waters by bringing your boat. Now here we are saying that you please destroy because you are capable of destroying. So this we have got to understand. So this mantra is talking about bad things can happen to good people without any warning, and then usually good people are affected and they are actually suffer much more than evil people, because evil people right away they will fight back and they will get into war right away and then protect themselves. But good people are reticent, good people are tolerant, and good people do not want to hurt others even if somebody else hurts oneself, and therefore bad people come and hurt good people much more. And therefore this we know very well. Suppose there is a deer, then you are not afraid, you go pretty closer to that. But if there is a serpent, if there is a snake, then you run away from the snake. The snake may be harmless actually, but still the moment you see the snake, that's it, you don't go near them. But if you are a sadhu purusha, if you are a good person, difficulties come more and more, and therefore you need the support of the divine, and therefore you give me complete protection. So the understanding of this mantra, the meaning of the mantra is very simple. That means you just say that I'm having difficulty, you are in some other realm, please come down to our realm, and then you help us. So then how exactly do we understand? One of the beauties of Puranas is that such ideas are dramatized by means of stories. So let us see from the Bhagavata what kind of a story can be used to understand these two mantras. That is, one mantra is where you make me sail through the difficulties. Naveva Sindhum. So when you are sailing through the difficulties, what do you do? There may be so many crocodiles, and then icebergs and so on and so forth can be there as you are sailing. So what do? You just avoid all of them. You don't go and then fight and then destroy them. You just navigate yourself without getting into whirlpools, icebergs, and so on and so forth. But in the second instance, it is not like that. Suppose your nation is attacked by an enemy, then there is no question of navigating out of the problem. You have got to stand and fight. So these two things are dramatized in the Bhagavata. So where we go and attack or get attacked and defend ourselves, two beautiful stories are where Krishna actually goes into Mathura and then actually neutralizes Kamsa. If you don't know the story, it is a simple story. There was a very despotic ruler called Kamsa, and this Kamsa sister was given in marriage, and just as at the end of the marriage, his sister was to go to her husband's house, a oracle comes from the heavens by saying, this your sister's 8th son is going to kill you. So a prophecy comes from a thunderous prophecy comes. So immediately comes this brother. He decides to kill his sister, because if she is alive, then some children will be born. Then her husband pleads and says, after all, it is the 8th child. Why do you want to kill her right now? Let her get the 7 children. And then he offers a truce by saying, I'll give you every child as soon as a child is born. So that immediately after the born, you can kill the child and you can be safe. And thus it happens, 7 children are killed. And so many intermediate stories are there. Basically, the 8th child is Krishna, whom you have heard. And this Krishna is the one who goes into Mathura and calls his uncle for a fight. And in that fight, he kills him. So this is where you call upon Agni to come here as a Kshamadeva. That means one who is capable of destroying the enemy, who is right around you, and you are capable of close combat. Another instance is where Krishna takes the Pandavas, Bhima, the strong one, and into the capital of another relative called Jarasandha. This Jarasandha is actually the slain uncle Kamsa's father-in-law. So Kamsa had 2 wives, and both the wives were sisters, and their father was Jarasandha, and Jarasandha becomes extremely upset that his son-in-law was killed by Krishna, and therefore he wants to take revenge. And so to take revenge, he had an enormous amount of army. Jarasandha had an enormous amount of army. Then also he had associated with other evil kings, like another king called Shishupala, another king called Duryodhana, another king called Dantavakra. So all of them were a coterie of kings. And Kamsa constantly comes and attacks the capital where Krishna and his brother Balarama were there. 17 times Krishna's brother Balarama beats them back. But all of these 17 times, it was Jarasandha who was coming with his army. 3 million, 4 million, it was a very strong army. Then all of them are decimated and then they'll go, regroup, get more army, and then they'll bring back and attack again. So 17 times he had attacked. 18th time, what Jarasandha does is, he gets into a treaty with a northeastern, they call him as Yavana. Yavanas are either you can call as the Afghan, Turkish Muslims, or they can also be called as Greeks. So for both of them, Sanskrit uses the word Yavana. And one of the kings was called Kala Yavana. Kala means one who is dark. So there was a treaty between Jarasandha and Kala Yavana, and this Kala Yavana decides to join hands with Jarasandha for the attack at the 18th time. So you have from the present day Patna, which is about the eastern part of North India, Jarasandha's army is coming. From the northwest, Kala Yavana's army is coming. This Kala Yavana had a boon. And the boon he had was, in close combat or in a war, nobody could kill him. So it was impossible to have a real fight with him and kill him. So what can we do? How to protect the citizens? So Krishna and Balarama reluctantly, but Krishna was the motivator for that. He said he knew that this kind of a treaty was being formed a few years in advance. So Krishna calls the divine architect Vishwakarma, and he says, I want you to build a very strong fort, which is not easy to be attacked. So it should be a port, so that if somebody has to attack, it has to be from the sea. And make me a fort in the roughest possible seashore, so that it's not easy for somebody to sail in. And then a fort is built to the land in the western place called Dwaraka. So Vishwakarma, the divine architect, builds a huge city to accommodate the entire population of the capital of Mathura. And then what he does is Krishna sends all his citizens to this newly constructed Dwaraka. So the entire Mathura is now empty except for Krishna and Balarama. Only two brothers are there. So they close the gates of the fort, and then they stand in front. So at that point of time, the two flank armies come. When these two armies come and converge on that, Krishna starts running. He's a great runner. So you're talking about 1,500 miles to run from Mathura to Dwaraka. So he runs and runs and runs. And Kalayavana, he was also a very good runner. Then he runs behind him. So Krishna knew of one secret. And that secret was, there was another king several hundreds of years back called Muchukunda. And this Muchukunda was a very great friend of all the gods. So he fought many, many battles on behalf of the gods against the demons. So there is a difference in the duration of a time at the earthly level and at the heavenly level. For example, at the heavenly level, 1 day is equal to 1 year at the human level. So the fight in the heavens with the demons happened for a couple of divine years. So a couple of divine years is a couple of 100 years here. So they went on fighting and fighting, and Muchukunda was very valiantly fighting on behalf of the devatas, of the gods. And then it was not a concluding fight at all. The fight was eternally continuing, because you have another thread of the story where Shukracharya had the ability to revive with the Sanjeevani, with the elixir, which would give back life and which would also remove all the wounds. So this was neither a winning battle nor a losing battle. So continuous skirmish was going on. That was when all the gods go and appeal to Shiva, and Shiva becomes the commander-in-chief of the army of the gods. Then our hero Muchukunda was extraordinarily tired, and then Indra, the king of gods, come to Muchukunda and then say, you are very tired, why don't you take rest? Then Muchukunda says, yes, I am exhausted, so I would like to take some rest. So I will go back to my capital, I will be, there is my wife and my children, I will go there and take rest under their care. Then Indra says, sorry, it has been a couple of 100 years since you have left your family, so none of them is alive. When you go there, your great-great-grandchildren will not even recognize who you are. So what can we do? Then he says, the only thing I want is I want to sleep, because I'm so exhausted. When you are extremely exhausted, the only thing you want is I want to sleep. In fact, many times you don't even want to eat, because even that much of time you cannot stay awake. So Indra says, all right, you can sleep. And then Muchukunda says, I want to get a boon from you. What do you want? I am so tired. I don't want anybody to wake me up. If before on my own I am woken up by anybody, then if I open the eyes, that person who is in front of me and who woke me up will be burned to ashes. So that boon was granted, and this Muchukunda was sleeping in a very comfortable cave. And then Krishna, running and running and running, he hides it, he enters into this cave, which was very dark. Obviously, you sleep better if it is completely dark. So he was sleeping Muchukunda was sleeping in a very dark cave. And then he goes and then he hides in the shadows. Then Kalayavana, who is hot on chasing Krishna, follows and enters this cave. And then in that cave, this Muchukunda would be lying down and sleeping with a sheet on top of his head. So his face was not visible. So Kalayavana shouts and says, "Oh, here you are," and then gives him a nice kick. So when Kalayavana kicks him with such force, immediately Muchukunda wakes up and, "Who is it that woke me up?" And then he opens his eyes and Kalayavana reduces him. He reduces into ashes. And then of course he goes away, and then Jarasandha back here cannot find anybody. So whom do you fight with? So he goes back. And then later on, Krishna manages to take Bhima, go to Jarasandha's capital, and there he is actually killed. So what is the relevance of this story? If you see the relevance of this story, Naveva Sindhum Duritat Jagrihi, just like you take a boat and avoid all the pitfalls in your journey, Krishna's running away from Mathura, then getting into the cave, and then making sure that Kalayavana is burned to ashes without a single drop of blood on his side. This is how you navigate through difficulties. So navigating through difficulties means what? Difficulties should not bother us, and we should not be bruised in the process of overcoming those difficulties. So this particular idea has been made into a story so you can understand this mantra. Because as I said, Purana is a commentary on how to understand the Veda mantras. That is why we have all the Puranas, we collect so many stories. And it's very entertaining story also, isn't it? Now you see, in conclusion, you see that here this is how he does. And in the first mantra, Naveva Sindhum applies the story of Kalayavana. Then Kshamaddevo Atiduritat Yagnihi applies how Krishna enters into Mathura, kills Kamsa, takes Bhima, and then kills, so that he, both the efforts you can see in Krishna's life. And this is how he is also, Agni is also, etymology of Agni is also taken as Agre Nayati iti Agnihi. Agre Nayati means one who stands in the front as a leader and then guides you. Agni is not just only fire. He is one who is a leader guiding you, is also Agni. So Agre Nayati iti, and therefore this Agni, this leader, this Agre Nayati, one who is all-knowing, Jata Veda, we also called him as Jata Veda, all-knowing. This who is all-knowing, as a leader who navigates us through difficulties or attacks our enemies and neutralizes them, and thus he is one who protects us from Agre Vadhaya cha Dhure Vadhaya cha. Agre Vadhaya is one who comes and attacks us right in front of us. Dure Vadhaya, one who hurts us from a distance. This is how we have to understand mantra number 5 in conjunction with mantra number